Hello and welcome to Upstack America's Oracle EBS Financial Functional Training. My name is Bob and I'm the lead senior consultant for Upstack America. And with me today I have Victor, who is also a senior consultant. And today we are tackling General Ledger Lesson 14. And Victor, can you please walk us through?
Thank you, Bob, for the introduction, and welcome to our 14th lesson in this Oracle Financials Functional Training Series. Today we are going to continue with the concept of recurring journals that we had already started in our previous lesson. We discussed the purpose of recurring journals and how they ease the work of end users in data entry, and we also discussed the types of recurring journals. We talked about the standard, skeleton, and the formula. We also looked at the standard last lesson, so today we are going to kick off with the skeleton recurring journal template. So just as a refresher, we know that the skeleton template usually has fixed accounts with varying amounts. So as the name kind of gives away, with a skeleton, the only thing that we define is the accounts that we are going to enter debits or credits against. So we define on the recurring journal template page, we define the accounts, but we do not enter any amounts because those amounts will be entered before posting the journal by the end users. Okay. So since we know all this, we are going to quickly go to the system and try to create a skeleton recurring journal template. So log in as a correct user. So the navigation is journals, define, then recurring. This is the template that we had already created last time for our standard. We are going to use this same template. We are not going to change anything. We're just going to change from the lines section and change it to a skeleton instead of a standard. So click on the lines button. In our last definition, we had used this account, and then we entered a set amount of 1,000, and then we had the offset amount, the offset line in the second line that was going to balance out with the previous line. So what are we going to do this time? Remember, from our definition of skeleton, we only define the accounts which are going to be used in the journal that's going to be generated. So we don't need this. We don't need this part here for the formula. Okay, we only define the this part, this line, this journal lines part. So we are going to go ahead and delete this. Are you sure you want to delete this formula line? Yes. The save our work. Go here and scroll down. Now, we don't need to use this as an offset line. Why? Because remember, as we said, for the skeleton, we just define the accounts and we enter the amounts manually. Okay, so we don't need to define this as an offset line. So we can just call this line 20 or our second line. The description is right there. We don't need to define anything at the formula level, and we can again save our work. So now we have created a skeleton recurring journal template, and we can use this template to generate our recurring journal. All right. So let's save here again. Let's close this. Journals, generate a recurring. This is the one we want to use. What period do we want to use it for? Let's do April. I know we have a lot of data in April, but not too much. We are going to be able to find our journal, and then select generate. This is our request. You can copy this and use it to view the request on the SRS screen. Specific request ID, find. So what do we expect when this request is completed? We expect to find a journal has been generated, but the journal has journal lines, but it doesn't have credit or debit amounts against those lines. Okay. So, all right. So the request has been completed. Let's close this. This again. Let's go to enter journals. Again, remember the status of this should be unposted. So we can narrow that with that. Oh wow, we have a lot of unposted journal. Okay. Let me close this and narrow it down again. So unposted. Let's see, April. Category adjustment. Did we do adjustment or budget? No, adjustment. See whether this brings it down. Okay, there it is. This first one right there. Right, so let's review this journal. So yes, everything turned out as we expected. We have the journal header and we have the journal lines here with no amounts. So when you create this kind of template and then you generate the journal, this is what you get. So all you have to do is enter the amounts that you need to enter. You don't have to do all the work for creating a new journal and entering all these parts manually. You just generate the journal from the template, and all you have to do is enter the amounts. So if we want to do $1,000 for our CSR account from our cash, that's what we do, and then we can post the journal. All right. So that's basically how the skeleton template generates skeleton journals, recurring journals. Okay, let's go back to our slides. The next type of recurring journal is the formula. What did we say the formula template looks like? So if you have these accounts, but the amounts that are posted in these journals, they vary using a certain formula from period to period. So for example, assuming the amount this Maskani company contributes to CSR activities increases by 10% every month, then we can create a formula template in which we define that particular formula in the formula lines, and we tell the system that we want you to increase this particular amount by 10%. And as we discussed, those amounts can be set amounts. You can derive those amounts from a certain account balance. So you can tell Oracle to increase the amount, the PTD balance for this CSR account from last month. So for this month, you increase the balance from last month by 10%. Or you can have a budget where you have defined that this is the amount that you want to spend for this particular CSR activities, and you can derive the amount from there. So let's quickly go to Oracle and see what we are talking about. So again, the navigation is the same. We want to define a recurring journal. I'm going to use the same template and just modify it. So let's go to the lines. So this was our skeleton that we are going to modify to our formula. So we need, needless to say, we need formula lines for this. So as we said, the first line, the operator is enter. Now you can enter an amount here. No, you can't enter an amount here first. Let's do with the account. So you can enter an amount, or you can enter an account from which Oracle is going to pull the balance. You can only do either one of them. You can't use both of them. So for example, you want Oracle to refer to that CSR account which we have been using, and which the combination is 001 CSR account. I think we used industrial plans for the division and default for everything else. Okay. So if you scroll to your right, you have other options. Balance type, actual or budget. We are going to use actual balance first. You can use PTD or YTD or period to date or year to date, project to date, or sorry. So you have all those options. We're going to use PTD. Currency, the currency we're using is USD. Currency type, you have total, statistical, or entered. We are going to do total, all right? So those are the options that you have. And then at the end here, you have where you can choose the period that this balance is coming from. So what are the options that you have? You have the current period, which is the period which you're entering this for, or you can go to same period a year ago. So you can go a year back and look at the PTD balance for that particular account, or you can use the last period. So what Oracle will do is will take the balance from the last period and then subject it to whatever formula you're going to enter. All right. So we've been entering, I think, our journals for this CSR account in the period of April. So what we are going to do, we are going to enter this this journal for we're going to select previous period here. All right. And then when we go to post the journal, we are going to open a new period and post them in that new period. So we're going to open May and post this, whatever journal is going to be generated by our template, and post it to May. So when Oracle is referencing the balance, it's going to reference the balance from April, what we've been entering so far. All right. So let's enter the second formula line, 20. So now here you can select whatever operator you want. You can decide you want to add $100, or you want to subtract a certain amount, or you want to multiply the whatever balance is in this account by a certain factor, or divide it by a certain factor. So we want to increase whatever balance is there by 10%. So we multiply this amount that is going to be in this account by 10%, by 1.1, to increase it by 10%. All right. So that's good. You can save that. Let's go to our second line. Now remember, this, we did change this when we were doing the skeleton, but we need to change this back to an offset line so that Oracle will automatically generate the offsetting amount in the journal. So again, how do you identify an offset line? That is the special number that you use to create. Please create a new record. All right, let me clear this first. Yes. All right, let's create a new one. Supposed to be our cash account. Right, so that's our offset line. You can save that. So our template is complete, and we can use this template to generate a new journal. All right. So let's close that, save that. Now what I want us to do first is to go and see the balance in this particular account, the CSR account, so that we see what is going to be increased by 10%. So inquiry account, we want to see the balance, yes, for April, and the account we want to see is CSR account, and its default for everything else. Okay, show balance. So this is the amount that we have entered in April. This is the PTD balance for April. There's a debit balance. So when we generate that journal and post it in May, it is going to increase, because we selected the period as the previous period. It is going to increase this amount for April by 10%. That is the amount that's going to be on the journal. So we should expect to see a debit of 2,200. All right, once we generate the journal. So let's test out our theory. Journals generate recurring. This is the batch we want. Remember the period is May. We can generate. Now let's leave this running first. A May is still a future enterable period. We can generate the journal, but remember when we generate the journal, we still have to go and review it and post it. So the journal will be generated, but unless we open May, we won't be able to post the journal. So as that is running, let's remind ourselves how to open a period. We want to, as you can see, May is still future enterable. Open period. We want to open May. Yes. I believe now the other request should be complete. Let's take a look. We want the status to be unposted. Period should be May. And there it is, our journal. And true to what we said, the amount is 2200. Let us review the journal. Okay. As you can see, everything went out as we expected. And so you can go ahead and post this journal. So that is how the formula recurring template works. So let's go back to that page and play around with it again. So journals, define. Now, as we have said, we can also enter budget amounts, and we can change the period. Okay, so I'm not sure whether we have budget amounts entered for this account. So before we do this, let's go and look at our budgets, because I want us to do one more journal. The budget organization we want to enter for is Maskani Developers. Okay. Should have narrowed down. Anyway. Close. Let me close this. Do this again. Let's narrow down to the account we want. Okay, so it's not showing up here, and if you paid attention to the previous lessons, we can probably tell why we need to do a budget organization maintenance before that account can show up here. All right, so our budget, define, organization. Can developers, yes. So let's maintain. Good. So let's go back and try to enter some amounts for that organization. Let's see whether this account will appear. There it is now, right? So we can enter budget amounts, define what amounts we want to spend every month, every period for this particular account. So 100, 100, 200, 200, 200, 300. You can move to the right using the tab key and to the left using shift tab. All right, let's save those amounts up to June. The amounts will be posted. So let's go back to our recurring journal template. And now we want to draw the amounts from the budget instead of from the actual balances. All right. So what do? We come here. Select budget. Again, you can do PTD or YTD. For this case, okay, depending on the period you are going to post, PTD and YTD might be different. So never mind that. Now, because for a budget, you've defined what amount you want to spend every period, then you do for the current period. You reference the amount from the appropriate period. We can keep this formula, but I mean it doesn't make sense if we had already budgeted the amounts that we want to spend on this account. In a functional sense, it's not wrong, but I just wanted to demonstrate how we can reference amounts from budgets instead of from actual balances. So let's delete this line. And so we expect that when we go to generate our journal, the amounts are going to be drawn from our budget and they are going to draw from the specific period we are going to specify. We don't need to change anything from the offset line. It will take care of itself. So let's save that. Okay. You can close this and go to generate. Recurring. Select that. Let's do for May. Now, since we are posting from budget, we need to tell Oracle which budget we are referring this amount from, because we just told in our formula lines, we just said, oh, these amounts are coming from a budget, but we didn't say which budget exactly, which budget version to be specific. So select the Maskani corporate and generate. What happened? What did I do? Okay, there is the request ID. So there is that. Let's say no. And we shouldn't have too many entries in May. And this should be our journal. No, this is wrong. This is not the one we wanted. This is the one we want. The recurring journal. This is a budget journal. Sorry. So as you see, the budget amount that we had entered for May was 200, and the system drew that amount and used it in the journal to generate this particular formula journal. So that is how you can play around with the various options that Oracle has given you to generate your recurring journals. You can post this. All right, so we have seen how to create all kinds of templates, the standard, the skeleton, and the formula, and we have seen the differences. So as a consultant, what you need to do is, if you need to implement this, just need to find out the needs of the client. If you're going to be entering these journals that are almost similar every period, you can ask them whether the amounts are going to be fixed, or whether the amounts are going to be varying, or whether the amounts are going to be changing with a definite formula, and then you will know what kind of template to create. So the other thing, maybe just as a by the way, you can also schedule for the recurring. You can also schedule for the recurring journal program to run at every specific time. So if they do these journals at the end of every period, you can also schedule for the generation program to generate the journals from the template at a specific time, maybe at the end of every period. Okay. All right. And this is the navigation for scheduling, just like any other program. And now we have completed the topic of recurring journals. Next, we are going to look at statistical information. So, Robert, unless you have something to add, I believe that's a good place to end our lesson today.
I think I'm good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.